This is where the fun begins.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Good morning and welcome to Thursday morning coffee chat. And I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I missed you last week. I had a bit of family emergency. And if you read my community YouTube post, we had to make the decision on euthanizing my cat, my baby cat. She's only 2 years old at the time because she ate something that was poisonous to her. And that was such a hard decision, but I'm not trying to be a downer here. So hello to Stig. Thank you for coming on and co-hosting. It's been a while since you've been on Coffee Chat. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Manning myself up to quit tobacco.
Oh yeah, he is. We were chatting about that or just earlier before we got started. So tell them your plan.
My plan is to play a hell of a lot of first-person shooters.
He's going to the shooter game to take out his frustration while
Yes.
he detoxes from all of that tobacco.
And maybe now I'll know what it feels like to be grumpy.
Yeah, because you're never grumpy. Never. Not whatsoever. Never. Oh my goodness. And hello everybody in the chat. I'm so glad you are here with us this morning. And again, I missed you guys. And the biggest question is, what is in your mug? I was gonna say bug. Jeez. What is in your mug?
You almost said butt, didn't you?
No, I wasn't gonna say butt.
What's up your ass?
What's in your ass?
Yeah.
This is not that kind of show. But anyways, what's in your mug? And so what is
I know what's in Dave Filoni's ass though.
Ew, no.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We're not going to go there. So let's see who's in here so far. No pun intended on that. But Caffeinated Wolf, hello. He says, I demand coffee and Star Wars. Girls, are we riot? Well, you have one. I don't think. Stig, do you identify as a woman?
No.
Okay. Sorry. So you only got one.
Yeah, I'm old-fashioned.
He is old-fashioned. He's like, I lived in a time where everything was normal and sane. And I'm going to stay there. Yeah. And then Orange Hat Review, dropping in early to leave a like and say hi. Unfortunately, I cannot stay. I am on another stream. That's okay. Enjoy yourself on the stream there. Catch the replay. Thank you for dropping in. And then Matt G, oh my gosh. Okay. So sad that I live in California and I know what that sounds like. Really, that's just sad. All right. So Assassin says, make us choose our favorite game character. You really like to hurt us, don't you, OG? And yes, I do. Actually, that was Stig's idea because I was like, what should I do for the poll? Because I haven't decided a poll.
Immediately, I get blamed.
Yes, he does, because you did give me the idea. You were throwing out ideas. And you're like, hey, how about your favorite game character? And I'm like, name him then. And so if you guys haven't voted, please go vote for your favorite character. And while we're on that topic, let's see who's getting the votes here. Excuse me. So Kyle Katarn is at 62%.
Everyone not voting for Kyle Katarn is wrong.
And then Galen is at 25. And
Galen's a pansy.
You're the one who chose him.
Yeah, I was putting it there so it would get no votes and the character would get humiliated.
You must hate him. And then we have, excuse me, Dash Rendar at 12, and Jaden Core is not getting any love at all. He is at 0.
Hell?
Yeah, he's not
Jaden
getting.
Core is your character in Jedi Academy, the best Star Wars game ever made.
Well, so far it's 0%. That's blasphemy, huh, Stig? No. Yeah, so Soul Assassin, I am making you guys hurt. We only can choose 4 characters, and so those are the ones we chose. So go and vote, and the poll will close probably a little bit after 10. So about in an hour or so it'll close. So make your vote count. You can only vote once. I can't vote because I'm the author of it. Stig can, but I don't know if he voted.
No.
No? Okay. He's
I'm
like,
a
no.
foreigner. I'm not supposed to vote in the U.S.
This is internet. This is like ether. This is like not even, yeah. So there you go. You could vote. You have voting rights here, Stig. You have voting rights here. All right. And let's go down and see who's all jumping on.
If I go to the YouTube video, the browser might crash because old computer.
Oh yeah, and then you'll be dead. You'll be gone.
Yeah, for a little bit.
For a little, yeah. All right, Iris says, my favorite game character is Iris me. Laugh out loud. Joking aside, I really love the campaign Vector in the RPG. I romance the heck out of him. So there we go. Matt G says, as opposed to a totally hilarious convo about Mon Mothma. Okay, so who had a hilarious convo about Mon Mothma? Let's see here. And that's who we're going to be talking about today. She is, I would say, kind of overlooked a little, because she was in Return of the Jedi, just like Wedge Antilles, her character's more fleshed out, are more seen in the EU. Her character was supposed to be in the PT, but then the scenes that she was supposed to be in during Revenge of the Sith was cut out. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have seen those deleted scenes where they're talking about the petition of 2000. So, and, getting all that organized, seeing right through Palpatine and what's going on was the biggest plot, the biggest, thing for the Rebel Alliance formation. And it wasn't just one single entity at the time when they started forming. It was various rebellion not cults, but sects, not sex. And finally, they put everybody together in what is called the Corellian Treaty. During the time when Mon Mothma met with Bail Organa and Padme and fellow senators, that was the Loyalist Committee. And so that's what we were going to see in the Revenge of the Sith, but that never happened. I believe it's in the novel, I believe. I'm not too sure. Yeah,
there's also a deleted scene.
And that's true. Yep. And so we'll be discussing a little bit about her today. I'm going into a cringe article as well that will pertain to her as well. And so that's why this stream is called Will the Real Mon Mothma Please Stand Up?
She also sent Kyle Katarn to steal the Death Star plans.
Right. And that's what we're going to discuss too. I have that all ready to go. So it should be a nice conversation. No one hardly talks about her, but I think just like when I started talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi during the Kenobi series, just to put out the real actual character in front of you guys, I think it's important to do this with her because she's not I wouldn't say she's not popular, but she's like overlooked a lot. If you follow me on Twitter and you're on my Twitter YouTube community page, you'll learn a little bit. I put a little bit of fun facts about her, and she did have 2 kids in the EU. So
she also gets to shine a little bit in the EU. But a lot of the rebel leaders we see in the movies, they're very overlooked for all kinds of stuff, to be honest. I mean, Riken as well. And, Quix Medine.
Yeah, exactly. Riken's another one too that people are like, oh, he was just a secondary character. So, even if they don't expand on him, it's not going to matter. Because he's just a secondary character. It's not going to change the story. It does change the story, especially for Han. And in the Empire Strikes Back, because of
what? I saw someone define what a fan is.
Okay.
Actually, it might have been George Martin, to be honest. He said an actual fan, basically, is someone who cares about uh, a franchise so much that every detail matters.
Right.
You know, that's what being a fan is. Just liking someone or other liking a movie or something doesn't make you a fan. A fan is, bigger. Kind of
Yeah.
like, Orange Hat with Predator. He knows everything about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of truth in that, because what they call a hardcore fan is the one that keeps the franchise going. Nowadays, you see these people that only want to be a part of the fandom because of identity, because they want to see something of them in the character. And I'm not saying relatable, like, like I can relate to Luke Skywalker. I like him as a character. Doesn't mean that I'm white or male, right? It doesn't mean I really see myself in him. I just see the traits, the character arc that he goes through that I can relate to, right? These people want, like, oh, I want them to be gay, or I want them to be bi, because then it's going to be just like me. And they look at this, they look at the substance more than the character, and more than the story, more than the details. They can care less about anything else what that's going on in the story.
It's skin deep, but I think what's happening quite often is if something starts trending a lot, people will just claim to be a fan so they could be a part of the conversation, basically inserting themselves into the conversation. And that's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look around and you observe and stuff, sometimes you can witness some of that. That's, so, there's truth into that. There's some truth into that. There are people who, maybe something sparked their interest, and now this new story's coming out and they're going to explore it. But then there's people who are never like really, really fans. And then all of a sudden, because it's going to be shared on a show, all of a sudden they're, so there's some truth to that. I mean,
again, there's a lot of YouTube channels that do Star Wars. Like, oh yeah, long-time fan, always loved it, and they see all kinds of Star Wars stuff in the background, and all the products are from 2020.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I think you just started.
Yeah. And then so we have Iris saying Mon Mothma had dignity, so I see Disney making her undignified in any way they can. She could be petulant or have loose morals. That is my worry. She's gonna be, to me, because like in the lore, in the original lore, she did come from a well-off family, and because of that, she had opportunities, and because of her smarts, she had opportunities to get into the political arena, which she did. And at the time, for the time frame and her sector, I guess you could say, maybe, I'm not sure, or maybe just for the Empire, because might get to my point here. She was one of the youngest senators. And then after that, once Leia was brought, came into the political arena, then she was the youngest. And then in the PT during that time frame, Padme was. So, so she was from a family that, was well-to-do, but that didn't matter to her. She was out there fighting for the people.
What? Wouldn't that be a little bit of a continuity issue?
Why is that?
If Leia couldn't have been the youngest senator if Padme had been that before her.
Well, I'm saying of the time frame, the era.
Yeah. Because if Padme was the youngest, right? Then Leia would be too old to be the youngest.
Well, yeah, and like I said, I'm saying that in the era, like the Old Republic, Padme was, and then for the Empire, Leia was. But in reality, if you look at the whole picture, it was Padme that was the youngest, that set the standards like that, and was the first, the youngest Naboo queen as well. So, and I think it was just that she was the youngest queen, not senator, but maybe it was senator too, right, Stig?
Good question.
Yeah, because I know they made a big deal that she was the youngest queen ever.
Yeah.
but I don't know about senator. So we need to look that up. Someone look that up for me in the chat, so that we can get that straightened out. So I'm going to finish reading these comments here, and then we'll get into more topic of Mon Mothma and stuff. Let's see here. We have Alex. Hello, how you doing? And I also want to say thank you to Jedi Rifter for becoming a channel member as well. I forgot to screenshot it, but last night it happened, and I just want to thank him for the continued support of the channel. And anybody, I know times are rough right now, but if you can become a channel member, thank you so much. That helps out the channel. Subscriptions as well does. So whatever you can do helps out a lot. So Alex says, hola, OG. Made that Astro ad. Hey chat, I don't know what the Astro ad is. Hey chat, can't vote because I haven't played Star Wars games. Can't wait for the show. Eating, and then it says watermelon. You're eating watermelon? Is that what I'm getting?
Yes, eating watermelon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. And thank you for coming in. Bamat, hey there, OG. Hello. And I have 11 beautiful souls. Thank you guys for coming in and joining us as well. I'm so thankful for every single one of you. And hey, Stig.
Hello.
Batsy Universe says, hello there.
Hello there.
And Jackson says, so Stig, is this twice in one day for you? I don't know what this means.
Oh, streams probably. Yes, because I was on with Mara last night for our top 10 list.
Okay.
So it was past midnight. So yes, this is twice in a day for me, which hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounded like Obi-Wan Kenobi there. So I've seen that a long time. Bombhat says, Energy Star Wars is never late, nor is she early. She arrives precisely when she needs to. I try. We have a joke, and I'm pretty sure this can be said with all ethnicities or whatever, but we call it running on Indian time whenever we're kind of running late. It's just an excuse. We're running on Indian time. Not me. I try to be on time for the show. That's just, I try. So sometimes it doesn't happen, but most of the time it does. Soul says, hello to all. Please hit the like button. Yes, you guys, please hit the like button.
Oh, I forgot about that. I did vote, though.
You did vote.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. And we have Tuscan here. Kyle Katarn is the only correct answer. There you go.
Yes.
He's the only correct.
I did vote for Jaden Core, though.
You did?
Nobody else did, so I did it for spite.
You vote out of spite?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kyle Katarn is at 53%. Galen Merrick is at 27%. Dash is at 7%. And Jaden passed up Dash and is at 13%. Wow, this is getting interesting. But Kyle
Katarn, though, he has 4 games under his belt.
Yeah, he's basically still leading the pack here. Basically, it's the 3 underneath him that are like, it keeps going up and down. Galen is slow, is a steady second. So we shall see. This poll will remain up for like a little over an hour, or under an hour. Now, let's see here. Let's see who's coming in. Jedi Academy is the best for gameplay story outcast.
Yes.
So
the Jedi Outcast has a better story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have Miss Smart Muses. Hello. Good morning to you. And then thank you again for Tuscan Bob for coming in, and one of my channel members as well. Thank you for your continued support. So Stig, since I'm still going to go through and say hi, but tell me a little bit about like maybe your favorite scene, or what do you like about Mon Mothma? I mean, sometimes it's hard to even
she's only in a couple of scenes.
Yeah,
but
EU, she's in a lot of EU, especially if you get into the Rebellion comics and the Empire comics. She's in those.
Yes, she was great in the Rebellion comics we went through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and she was a little bit more hands-on in those too. She had a few action scenes.
And Miss Martin says, I have chocolate chip cookie flavored coffee in my cup.
Well, that's a fucked up cup, isn't it?
Only to trigger. Let's see here. I'm having coffee at a diner. Awesome. Let's see here. And yeah, so when we reviewed some of the comics in the past for Coffee Chat, especially the Shadows of the Father, or my not that one. Which one was it? My brother, or my enemy, my brother, or whatever it's called again. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. With
yeah,
those were great. That's when we had Dina Shawn,
yeah,
who they were supposed to flesh out quite a bit more, but Disney chopped it off right there.
Yeah.
And she was becoming a little bit of a favorite of mine because she kept failing, but she kept trying and almost quitting, but she kept at it, and then she had like a massive win.
Yeah, I know. She was I can agree on that. She was, like you said, she was one of those characters that had that down and didn't see her worth, and then you get into the story and you find out why, and it kind of like went back to like daddy issues, I guess you could say, but it's still like how you're raised and how your parents treated you sometimes goes into you're either going to go one way and say piss on you, mom and dad, I'll show you, or you're going to believe it and take those words that they planted in your head that you're no good or you're not good at something or whatever. And that will, kind of fester in your life. So she took the opposite. She was the one that took those words and let it like fester her and made her, less confident or doubtful of her self and actions. And the brilliant part of that was her discovering her worth and discovering that she can do things. And so that was an amazing story. It would have been great to have the continuation of that and the end of that, coming up to the conclusion.
I think they would have killed her off because
probably
she was a retroactively added character, and usually they kill those off.
Yeah,
because you'd have to explain, later on where was she during Return of the Jedi and the New Republic era, right? So I'm thinking,
they should have done Ahsoka. Her ass.
Yeah, Ahsoka just created all kinds of problems.
Yeah,
and other things too. The tracking fob. If you retroactively add technology, really bad. Because they're like, why didn't the Empire use tracking fobs to find all the rebels during the Rebellion era, or why didn't they use them to find Luke in the sequel trilogy?
Yeah. They have to have like the evolution of the device. Like they have that. Like George was really good. He basically is like, I want to show how like the X-wings and the TIE fighters evolved, and that's what he basically gave us in the movies, right? We got all of that. And it's funny how people are like, George didn't care about continuity, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? Are you serious? Because he really was, adamant about showing how the technology and stuff like that evolved during, between the movies and stuff, and how even how we even have the regression of the fall of the old republic into the empire and the dark times and stuff like that. So he wanted to show all these time lapses of events that shared technology being evolved and made, and new technology coming out, and how a government fails and becomes a dictatorship and stuff like that. So that right there is world building and continuity. And so
there's in the extras in the prequel trilogy DVDs, you can actually see quite a bit of how George specifically goes for continuity. But then there's like this little snippet where he's joking and says, screw continuity. He was saying that as a joke, but that's what people took out of it. It's like, oh yeah, George didn't care about continuity.
Yeah.
Even though he's been talking about continuity for 30 minutes before that.
Right. It's like the actions speak louder than the words. Like he's a kind of person, he's very reserved. I wouldn't say he's very outgoing in a sense. He's very an introvert, I guess you could say. And so like when it comes to joking and stuff, I think people take him serious because he's not the kind of person that is humorous, I guess you could say. And so they either will take a joke serious, like I think Filoni did when Filoni said, oh, well, George had continuities for wimps. That was a joke. because action speaks louder than words. So if you discontinue just listening to what George had said, like even with like parallel universe and talking about the EU of like, that's the EU and it's not in my it's not the movies kind of deal, which there's some truth in it because of the tier hierarchy or whatever. We're not going to get into that. But if you just dismiss his words, because he always has contradicted himself, if you just do your research and look at all his quotes and stuff, he does contradict himself. But what you need to do, people, is look at the actions, his actions. Action speaks louder than words.
Well, the parallel universe quote is taken out of context anyway, because he's talking about writing. And he's saying that he's basically talking about how he works. He's a movie maker, not a writing. So the writing stuff is like a parallel universe. It doesn't mean it literally.
Yep, like I said, people take it literally, and they think his words are like the gospel.
But there's an interview with him where he talks about all that stuff and says he admires the consistent world building and all that that Tolkien did and other people.
Yeah,
and he wanted that for Star Wars. So you wouldn't make a parallel universe if you want that, would you?
Right. And Tuscan Bob says, "Oh, come on now. This is modern day Lucasfilm. Mon Mothma formed the rebellion because Palpatine tried to regulate abortions."
Yeah, probably something like that's going to happen. Going to have a pregnant Imperial officer or something.
Well, the thing is, and I'm not going to show this article because but it's something I shared last night before I went to bed, and it's about Andor. And what they were saying basically is that they want to show real life in Andor, and I'm like,
is that what they put? Is that what they the reason why they put AK-47s in Star Wars? Because they did. You see it in the trailer.
Well, yeah, they're weapons. When you look at the history of Star Wars weapons, they are just regular weapons from our reality, but then modified to made look different, like blasters and stuff like that. So there is some realism, I guess you could say there is. So that can kind of be, debated like, well, but then I get your point because of the Second Amendment and stuff going on. And so they're like probably gonna, I don't know what they're gonna do with that. If they are gonna put this Trumpian world, as they said, into this movie, then does that include like anti-gun tactics? Which means that the rebellions need guns. So are they gonna make the empire look like
that's a bit of an
Democrats
issue,
of America?
Because the rebellion, they took up arms, didn't they? Speaking of rebellious things from alternate universes, Wilkins is in the chat.
Hey, Wilkins, how you doing? I haven't scrolled down all the way there yet, so I'm kind of taking my time. But hello to you. Let's see here. And then we have Chaos Man saying, I think we can appreciate that not just just Mothma, but other leaders of the New Republic stood by Leia for heritage from Vader. In Disney, Leia leaves the New Republic because apparently being related to Vader is bad. Yeah, that was thing that was very off-putting when I read it, because like one of the only novels that I read in the fake lore or Disney lore is Bloodline or whatever it's called, and it's her story. And they really tear her down. They really chastise her for being Vader's daughter. And you would think someone who put time and effort into the Rebel Alliance
they've actually retconned Bloodlines already. Which means everyone who bought it should get a refund, because they were told that everything would be in perfect continuity and everything would be canon. So people who bought that book and read it should get a refund.
There's so much crap going. There's like the Ahsoka book. Filoni's already contradicting that. With his own character.
They're even contradicting their own shows.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know what though? I see a lot of people were praising Favreau because of Iron Man and all that, and he did great with that. But you want to know what he did before Star Wars? he did the Shannara show, which is based on Terry Brooks's books,
Yeah.
and he directed the first episode, and he was the producer on it. You know what happened in the first episode? You have a character waking up from a long supernatural sleep inside a cave on a beach during summer. The cave is sealed, and he's covered in snow.
What?
It's exactly the kind of stupid shit you see in the stuff he's doing for Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
it's dumb as shit.
Yeah.
Inside a sealed cave that has been sealed for centuries, and during summer next to a beach, and he's covered in snow.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. It's like continuity doesn't matter anymore to these creators, and I use that word loosely, because I really don't think that these guys have the inkling of creativity that we've seen going on like in the 80s and part of the 90s and stuff like that. So Fuck Norris is here, another channel member. Thank you so much for dropping in. Katarn for sure. Hello, OG and friends. Hello to you as well. Again, if you're just tuning in, I have 15 beautiful souls here. Thank you guys for tuning in, watching, and having this conversation with us. Please hit the like button.
And all souls will be sacrificed at the end of the episode.
Oh, there you go. And then go ahead and vote for your favorite game character. Kyle Katarn, Galen Merrick, Dash Rindar, and Jaden Core. So we have those 4 there. And Soul Assassin says Marsha Lucas wrote Bloodlines.
I thought it was Claudia Gray.
No, we're joking around. I think.
Oh yeah. My bad.
There is a series that's going on a Vice called Icons Unearthed, and
it's basically the revenge of the ex-wife.
Right, it's ex-wife unhinged, and they even had her do the PT part. So they interviewed her for the prequel trilogy, which she has she did not help or contribute with those whatsoever. And then she went on and to say George was basically racist there for some of the characters that he did. So I think we'll be getting into more Icons on Earth on Spacing tomorrow night. I believe so. Don't quote me on that, but I think we're still going to be EFAPing the shit out of those. You guys, blood will be boiling for them, especially going into the last show, which they combine Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith together. The Phantom Menace has its own, and then Return of the Jedi, of course, has its own. It's like a hit show on George.
Yeah, it's a hit piece. Which is that they've started doing the same with Tolkien.
Yeah,
that people have started smearing him too.
And the author of this Icons Unleashed was like, I just wanted to show more of the truth, because you hardly see Marsha's name in the credits or giving credit when they make these documentary books about the movies and stuff like that. She's not the only one that edited. Yeah, she was married to George at one time, and of course, all that entails with that. But they really tried to give her credit of even the formation of the Lucasfilm business. They tried to give her credit for that as well. So it's very, very dishonest, I believe. I think it's very, very dishonest. So stay tuned for that on Spacing. That's tomorrow night. And tonight I will be on the Babe to Menace on Mary Mayhem's channel at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So stay tuned for that as well, where we're going to just have some fun laughs and get together and make fun and poke fun at crazy shit going on today. So stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and move on. All right, let's see here. So with Mon Mothma, we know that, she was one of the main leaders of the formation of the Loyalist Committee, which turned into the Petition of 2000, which then started, started creating the rebellion. And the rebellion at the time wasn't just one single sect, like I said. It was, there was various organizations that did not like being under the thumb of the Empire. seen right through Palpatine and all the, the pressure and the dictatorship that he was putting on their planets and stuff like that. And so she was
a lot of the separatists
became
rebels later on.
It's like they got used. It's like the people who realized that they were just pawns for this greater thing to destroy the Jedi, because she did not believe, like when she got the news from Palpatine when he had them all meet in the Senate building, and he was declaring that the Jedi basically betrayed them and stuff. She didn't believe that. She did not. She was one of them that were like, I don't believe this. And, so she stayed steadfast with her beliefs and seen right through Palpatine. And she did still work, unlike Bail Organa, because he had reasons to kind of like toe the line because he had Leia. She was still working in plain sight, being, the voice of reason, I guess you can say. And all of that as a senator. So she didn't believe in having secret, committee meetings, I guess you could say. So like when she worked with other senators, they still met like basically in plain sight. So she still met under the nose of Palpatine, which later on he started putting two and two together because, she's on that 2000 list anyways. And, she eventually got, I wouldn't say kidnapped, arrested. Basically,
she also called out Palpatine to his face in front of the Senate a few times too.
Yeah, exactly. And so she was the pivotal voice there, speaking for the planets, the systems that didn't have a voice, because she had such a presence, such a clout, and such a political stance with and respect from other senators, that she was able to do that. So she was perfectly aligned. And then finally, when they started recognizing that she was putting herself in more danger than needed, well, that, obviously she's going to put herself in danger because she's going against Palpatine. That's when Bail Organa decided to give her some guards, and he helped her go underground. And then we started seeing her going underground towards the beginning, like right before the OT began, the New Hope and stuff. Because, her life was threatened, of course.
The Senate got dissolved.
Yeah, and then Senate got dissolved in ABY or BBY. That was announced in the New Hope. And so like I think she's very overlooked when it comes to the formation. I think they now in Disney lore gave Ahsoka the title of forming the rebellion, I believe.
Of course.
From what I'm hearing. I didn't look that up, so just take that with a grain of salt. The famous word, take it with a grain of salt. But she is the most pivotal one to have the rebel, form the Rebel Alliance. And of course, we also have let me see here, with the Corellian Treaty. It was her, Bail Organa, Garm, Bel Iblis, and Galen Merrick, who all signed the Corellian Treaty, which basically solidified the Rebel Alliance. Now they're not separate factions. Now they are one. And that was about maybe 3 BBY, I believe, or 2 BBY. So that was right before we get to see, the movies, the movie timeline come into play. And
I wish they had done a Mon Mothma novel set during the dark times.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting. That would be really, really interesting. And she did over time.
If they had done it like Plagueis, with some time skips here and there.
Yeah, that would have been very, very interesting. I don't know how many people would have wanted that though, but it would have been neat to see.
I would have read it.
Yeah. Yeah, she wasn't as fleshed out as Wedge Antilles was in the EU.
Yeah, even Akbar was more fleshed out.
But even though her character was fleshed out more in the EU than what we've seen in the movies, because she's basically only was in Return of the Jedi. And then any scenes that she was supposed to be in for the PT was cut out. She's in the novel, but not in the movie. So Soul Assassin says, Filoni had a spiritual awakening watching Ahsoka show. Sounds kind of gay.
Yeah, that's the most narcissistic thing I've ever heard, because most writers don't really think too highly of their own work because they're too close to it, and I've never heard anyone say that their own writing gave them a spiritual epiphany or whatever it was. That's holy crap. That's when you know it's yeah.
Oh my god. So we're going to get into this article here pretty soon, but we're going to still talk about more Mon Mothma, and this article will have us talk more about her and do maybe a little bit of like compare and contrast, and I will ask the chat and Stig about how their predictions with her here pretty soon. So we have Marlena Moreau. Hello, OG, Stig, and chat. Hello, darling. How are you doing?
Hello.
Let's see here. And so with her, like with the rebellion, like I said, if you follow me on my Twitter, YouTube community page, she did have 2 children. Her name was Leda. She had a daughter and a son. What was her son's name again? It's been a while since I look at Jobin. I believe the name was. And her son was killed at the Battle of Hoth by Vader. So a little bit of fun facts right there for you. And so I thought that was interesting that, she put her political career, everything she put before herself and her personal life, because her mission was to help out the galaxy and bring peace and order and all this stuff. So she was a person that was probably overworked, very selfless, and never took time for herself. This is the Mon Mothma of the pre-Disney. So she basically worked like, I wouldn't compare her to Mother Teresa, but Mother Teresa was a selfless person too, where she put her needs and everything aside for the people. Basically, Mon Mothma did similar tactics of putting the needs of herself and everything for the people of the galaxy to help, restore some kind of order and, and get away from the tyranny of the empire and stuff. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And so I'm kind of scared to see what they're going to do with her, like make her some kind of like Karen type character.
Yeah. I think she just passed away eventually in the EU from old age.
Yeah, peacefully. So after she got that liquid thrown on her and Seagull basically cured her and stuff like that, she did make some appearances here and there. In fact, she did sign that treaty between Pelion and the Galactic Alliance in the duology, the Hand of Throne duology. So she was there for the signing and stuff, but eventually she did start basically settling in and spending some of her life with her daughter. So that, and then she died peacefully and stuff. So that I thought that was, one of those characters that basically just die like peacefully. They settle in and kind of not fade in the background, but basically they're no longer needed. So they, just go into family life finally and settling down and living their life. And so she's one of them that didn't really get fully killed off with some kind of battle or war or anything like that. So I thought that was kind of unique for her. So, and it's kind of tragic though, seeing, reviewing her whole lore for today. Last night I did that for today, and, seeing how tirelessly she worked towards, creating the new republic and later on called the Galactic Alliance. And then finally being able to settle down and get to spend time with her own daughter, you know, losing her son in the Battle of Hoth and stuff. I wish that was something that's in the comic, but I wish that was more fleshed out. That would have been a very interesting story. Like if they did a, like you said, Stig, a giving her own novel, kind of like Plagueis, where there's time skips, and then getting into the part where she loses her son.
Basically have it start with, I guess, during Revenge of the Sith, and have it end at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That would have been very interesting to see. You know, it's, you know, because she's like, when you look at her, you know, she has this demeanor about her and stuff. But when you look at her and stuff, you kind of see, and this maybe because I went fully into her story and did my research and stuff like that, there's this type of loneliness that you see in her. You know, this kind of like, yeah, I would say loneliness. Like she went through a lot of crap, and she did go through a lot. She was very fierce. Oh, and another thing too, and I asked this on Twitter, and maybe you want to, you know, give your opinion on this, Stig, is that, okay, so I'm going to compare and contrast here now, is that in the original, the true lore, Mon Mothma tutored Leia as a young girl in the political realm. You know, so she, you know, helped her out because you know, of course she's, you know, the Organa's daughter, you know, so she's royalty. And then also she will, you know, someday take up her dad's place in the fight against the Empire, you know, so she got tutoring and stuff like that. So basically she had a relationship with Mon Mothma as a mentor in the original lore, in the true lore. Then when you get into Obi-Wan Kenobi's show, where the hell is Mon Mothma in this all? If she was really close to Bail Organa and the family, and she tutored and was a mentor to young Leia, like that age at 10 would be a time where you'd start introducing, you know, all that. Where was she? Where was she to help out? Since she was never afraid to step up in front of Palpatine's face and say what she needed to say.
Well, there's a heck of a lot of weird stuff with the Kenobi show. I mean,
yeah,
you know, here's what the Empire knows, right? They know that Bail Organa's kid got kidnapped. They have footage of her. One of their own did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they know that Bail didn't say anything about it publicly. They know that Kenobi, his former good friend, shows up and rescues Leia. Right?
Mm-hmm.
By that alone, they would know that, hey, Bail Organa knows where Kenobi is. He contacted him.
Yeah.
So all they have to do is actually they can arrest Bail Organa for aiding Jedi and execute him legally after that, and then kidnap Leia and wait for Kenobi to show up again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's all they have to do.
Yeah. It was all fucked up weird. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they just turned Palpatine and Vader into complete idiots.
Mm-hmm. Right. If anything, because Organa is a part of the Senate, as well as Mon Mothma, and the Senate was still intact there and stuff. They even stress this in the Kenobi show. Why are you kidnapping a senator's kid? That's all they said. That's all. That's it.
It doesn't even matter. I mean, they kidnap her in episode 4 too. You know, and Vader says, "Yeah, inform the Senate that all aboard were killed." That's all they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, grab, you know, Bail and Jedi and Leia somewhere and say, "Yeah, some terrorists killed them."
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Soul Assassin's a side question. How is Lady Toriel? Haven't seen her much. She's doing okay, right, Stig?
Yeah, I think she's doing better.
Yeah. Okay.
Healing up.
Yeah, she just got to take care of herself and take care of business. You know, I respect that.
She's reading a lot of books.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Holocron Library Fox, how are you doing? What's in your mug today? What are you enjoying? What beverage? We are having a serious conversation about Mon Mothma, and we're going to lead into some stupid cringe factor article about Andor fixing the prequels.
Here's the thing, and this kind of baffled me when I saw the headline. So Andor is going to fix the prequels. Well, it wasn't that long ago they had a similar article saying that Kenobi would fix the prequels, and then before that it was the Clone Wars fixing the prequels.
That's what I was going to get into. Like, there's
So,
this little thing here that's going on.
Yeah, so Kenobi and the Clone Wars did not fix the prequels then, since it still needs fixing.
Yeah, so Andor is going to do what they couldn't do. Woo!
Yeah, and what exactly are they going to fix?
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that eventually. But, I posed that question about Mon Mothma for the OK show. Where was she? If she was this pivotal leader that Andor is making her look like she's going to be fighting in plain sight, basically. Where was she for Bell? And where was she for for the family, for Leia, for Obi-Wan during the time? Why didn't she reach out and say, hey, we'll give you some resources to get her home, Leia home safely? So it's like they don't even know how to keep track of continuity, really, and how to link these stories other than story by story. They don't think ahead that way. When we have the original EU and Star Wars lore, they were already figuring out what can we cross-reference and link to, if possible, to make these
here's another problem that they've created. The flaw in the Death Star that we see and created in Rogue One. That one was so. You basically need a Jedi to make that shot. That's what they're hinting at, right? And they believe every Jedi is dead. So they're making a flaw that only someone that's extinct can make, can exploit. That's a problem. But then with the Kenobi show, we're told that Bail Organa can contact Kenobi at any time. Well, why isn't he in Rogue One then? You probably would need a Jedi that was known for doing countless infiltration missions during the Clone War. So you have the same problem as with Mon Mothma. Where was she?
Yeah.
And this is why you don't fuck things up retroactively.
This is why you don't get rid of lore that was well established.
Yes, don't add technology and all kinds of stuff afterwards, because that's it's the original story was not written with that in mind.
Yeah. And let's go back to Mon Mothma now, like with the original lore. And she was the one that really championed Luke Skywalker. And when he decided to build the Jedi Order up again, now that we know it as the new Jedi Order, because it's, he I wouldn't say reinvented it, but he did what he could with it and changed some things, either whether he realized he'd changed some things that were wrong with the old order or not. That's to be debated, because he's even questioned, about Jedi's married and stuff like that in the lore, but anyways, she's the one that championed him to begin the order, to begin recruiting Jedi and searching. And she's like, take the base on Yavin 4 and use that as your academy, your Praxium, or your academy there.
Which is a pretty damn good spot for an academy too.
Yeah, until Exar Kun came along.
Exar Kun being there, but
yeah, that was just one setback that almost killed Luke.
Yeah.
And that's another story with Luke. It's like, just going back to the people who talk shit about him in the EU. Oh, he was OP and, he wasn't human-like and blah, 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 blah. We couldn't relate. What the fuck are you talking about? In that Jedi Academy, he basically was put into a forced coma and taken down by Exar Kun, his own people and his own niece and nephew had to save him.
Well, he gets fucked up all through the
He
EU.
does. He
And
does.
at the end
Literally.
of Crucible, he's most likely dying.
Yeah, he basically still has Abeloth's like force essence, a tentacle in his stomach or in his belly, his chest, and
She
so
made
he's
him
dealing with that
pregnant.
force. Yeah, she impregnated him, but he's still dealing with that force energy of her leaving her force essence inside of him. I guess you could put it in that way. And so we don't know how he dies because we'll never get that story, but we know he does die. And that was never a problem with us when it came to Luke. We knew he was going to die because later on, like 100 years and some odd years, we see him as a force ghost towards his ancestor, Cade. So that was never a problem for us because we knew he was going to die. We started seeing his body deteriorating, him going through a lot of shit, all of that.
That was a weird argument the Disney shows were making. They were like, "Yeah, you just want Luke Skywalker to beat everyone and like a superhero and stay alive." And well, we've already accepted that he dies. That happened over 10 years ago. Where were you?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of of those like straw mans and stuff like that they were trying to throw out that prove that they haven't read anything or did anything before the Disney Star Wars when it came to Star Wars. But back to Mon Mothma. So she did help, she did give him the blessing. She did give him like, hey, go do it, because she believed that the Jedi were basically set up. She's seen right through Palpatine for Order 66. She didn't think that there was a Jedi takeover, I guess you can say, and they had to execute the Jedi and all of that. So she believes that in what the Jedi stand for the galaxy is helping maintain peace and helping out the galaxy when needed. And so that was a wonderful story and stuff. But when you see her now when you're gonna see her, if anybody watches, is she gonna have that same belief going forward? I know she was in Rebellion, the Rebellion show by Filoni. I didn't really watch it to get to know her in that.
Oh, don't. Holy shit. There's
I just did research, so I only watched certain episodes because of research, but that's all.
That show makes The Last Jedi look competent.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
And Soul says, I honestly don't want to know how Luke, Boba, and the Leia family die. Adds to the lore with little said. Yeah, I mean, even if it goes like, if it's a mystery, we know they die. We know. And that's it. It would have been fun to see exactly like how maybe Han and Leia go down, but, you sometimes leave it at mystery.
The only thing I want from Star Wars at this point is for the canceled products that were announced before the takeover.
Yeah.
Just finish those and I'll be happy, because eventually any story must end, right?
Yeah.
So if we get the Darth Zana duology and the Jaina Solo trilogy, that I would have been fine with that.
Yeah. I know. Some people probably wouldn't, because, would get the beginning of like the Fel Empire, maybe.
Yeah, all they have to do is set up the beginning, and then we'll see where it ends up in the legacy.
Yeah, and it could just be to the fans' imagination in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's some things like Soul Assassin says, or like, was it Soul Assassin? Or like leaving some things to mystery sometimes is a beautiful thing,
Yeah, because we have that with the Bane stuff, because there's almost nothing between Bane and the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
There's thousands of years there where we don't know what's happened, and I was fine with that. We don't have to know what's happening every single minute.
No, you don't. Let's see here. I have a big Raj Canadian $1.99 a super sticker of a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Another channel member. Thank you for your continued support. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Yeah, so, and then Solo Assassin says, oh, gee, don't go into the dark side. Avoid the Disney stuff. There's times I have to go in to do my research, because if I'm really going to compare, like right now, like we're talking about Mon Mothma, Like I said, I want to be able to have great points about her character, her true character versus what Disney's given her. I will have to do some research. I don't necessarily have to watch the show. I can go and look at the synopsis or maybe a certain part of the show and get her character and read up on the character with the synopsises and stuff like that. But yeah, it's so cringe sometimes when you go in though to do your research and you're like, what are they thinking? They're not honoring the EU, or they're not honoring George's Star Wars or how he wants these characters. And that's something that's always said now. It's never like, oh, they did the character right. Okay. These little bit of changes are tolerable, but they honored the character. No fucking way have they ever honored these characters. I've never seen anybody who has been a fan, basically EU elitist, like what I am, I guess you could say, which, now I take that word and it's like a badge of honor. Nowhere have you seen people who have been hardcore fans ever say that any of these legacy characters built by George were honored by Disney. Never. You might hear Shields say that.
Oh yeah, Shields will say it.
Yeah,
but they can't usually back it up.
No, they can't. And then they'll back it up by like, oh, you're just hating. You cry harder. That's all they back it up with. And I'm like,
You're
really? That's all you have?
black-pilled.
Oh yeah, you're black-pilled too. You're black-pilled because you want these characters honored.
Yeah.
Well, you're a friggin' shill because you don't care about what was created before in the legacy of Star Wars, basically. You just want something good. It's so fucking stupid. Sorry, I'm cussing now, but that's just how I feel. So Dan says, you can't fix perfection like the Phantom Menace. So you guys, we're coming up on the hour here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the poll. I wish I could pull it up on my StreamYards. I have to look at a different screen for this. But favorite game character. So if you're tuning in, I have 19 beautiful souls here. Thank you again for coming in and hanging out for coffee chat in this wonderful conversation about Mon Mothma and her in the original lore versus what's coming up in Andor and what has been already what you would call quote unquote fleshed out about her in the Disney lore. So favorite game character, get your vote in. I'm not going to close it just yet, but I have a few, like less than a minute I am. Kyle Katarn is at 57%, Galen Merrick at 21%, Dash Rendar 7%, and Jaden Core at 14%. So get your vote in. It's going to close in less than a minute, and we'll see. We already know Kyle Katarn's been leading. The true, him and Jan Ors, the true characters who helped with getting the Death Star plans. Now, there was more than one plans that were given because the Empire wanted to split up, the various plans from technical to basic structural plans. So they wanted to divide those up because they knew the rebels were looking for
which is why Vader says several transmissions were beamed aboard this ship.
Correct.
Unlike in Rogue One, where one transmission was beamed aboard another ship and then carried physically over to Leia's ship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's one big stupid mess up that could have been avoided because it's there for you if you watch the friggin' movie, right? You have all the resources in front of you.
Yeah, and there's just hours between, so that means, sorry, Vader, you're retarded.
Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about, Vader. Your people told you wrong. All right. So there we go. So the poll is now closed. Kyle Katarn is the winner, and rightfully so. He's basically one of the most famous EU character established.
There were two Kyle Katarn games that got canceled by LucasArts. In the mid-2000s. I think one of them was to take place during the Yuuzhan War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was going to flesh out him and Jan's relationship.
Yeah, I was doing some research and I came upon some of that.
Watch Game Lord Dash.
Yeah.
He did a video about all the canceled Star Wars games. And LucasArts was mishandled. The guy who was in charge of that stuff was a damn idiot.
Yeah, they're in that time frame during the buyout, like before the buyout and during the buyout. LucasArts was kind of falling apart a little bit because of their,
LucasArts died before the buyout, I think.
yeah, there was like next to nothing, which, you know, Disney could have still kept intact and just reestablished, like reconstructed the department. But they didn't. They decided to go back to one of the original names that it was previous named before LucasArts.
Yeah, Lucasfilm Games.
Yeah. And so they went ahead and decided. So when people made a big stink about that, I wasn't too concerned because that was the original name of LucasArts before it became LucasArts. So yeah. That's one thing I really didn't have like a like tis about because there was no reason to. There's like, you know, pick your you know, pick your stance on what you're going to fight with and what's worthy or not. And that wasn't one of them, you know, because that was the original name of the company before it became LucasArts. So pick your battle, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Oh crap. Close or
yeah, I think LucasArts hadn't had a hit since the first Force Unleashed game, which was what was it, 2006 or something like that.
Yeah,
it was grossly mismanaged. It was probably bleeding money too.
Yeah, probably there was a lot of things going on during that time. I need to do a video about that because I've been doing a little bit of game research on my end too for that. And yeah, so maybe you guys will see that. But my thing is like I did with Kenobi show, and I still got that video is coming with lore video with Kenobi and Siri Tachi. I just don't like my voice in it for some reason, so I have decided to record it, re-record it. So that'll be coming. But another video that I have up is it's just basically a little peek of the Star Wars concept book that I got. And then also, and my voice is kind of cranky right now, my also coming new series here in the near future. I don't see any channels hardly doing this, but because I'm an artist, I thought it'd be fun to focus on like talking about the novel covers, especially from different areas of the world, like the Japanese art covers for the New Jedi Order versus the American. You know, so reviewing those, I thought that would be fun. And then also reviewing the concept art for the movies and the games and stuff like that. You know, doing the research.
Dan Blackroyd in the chat has a good point. He says all the best LucasArts games were mostly not even Star Wars. Yes, because the early games, the old adventure games and stuff, they were fantastic.
Yeah. And then the adventure games they made early on were all-time classic. Yeah. And then Soul Assassin says, there's a channel called Bombastic who talks about the canceled Darth Maul game, even interviewed the game project leader. Yeah, I think I seen that when I did that. Was it the Darth Maul Talon one that you're talking about?
The one Lucas didn't use. He didn't use that for his sequel trilogy because he was told that Talon doesn't exist in this timeline and Maul would be dead from old age anyway. So he scrapped it to stick with the EU.
Yeah. So
imagine that.
Yeah, and that was turned into a game because a game can be like you have that quasi canon-esque kind of thing with games with where it can still kind of not go with continuity, but still will have an overall story for that.
It was it was gonna be a co-op game. So you'd play with a friend. One would play Maul, one would play Talon. It's gonna be an action game.
Yeah. So, and, you know, I did do a video on that about the Battle of the Sith and what came about with it. And so you guys go ahead and check that one out. I will share it on the YouTube, Twitter community page that I have for the channel. That'll be shared there. So you guys can take another look into that. So if you're not very familiar with that game that was coming out, and the only reason why it stopped production was because of the buyout and them dismantling LucasArts. That's the only reason why. And they never picked it up after that. But George did have say in that game. He was involved in that game. He did say, okay, let's correct the continuity issues and we can go ahead and either go one way with Maul where he's a clone or another way it's his descendant. So that was being fleshed out, but it didn't come to fruition because of the buyout and stuff. So that would have been a fun game to see, and play. Very fun. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this cringe article. So this is Cringe Factory, and I will have not Factory. I know what Mara Jade has Cringe Factory, but this is Cringe Factor portion of Coffee Chat where we review articles. And the only reason why I do this is because people take this and use this as evidence to why Disney's doing what they're doing and why pre-Disney Star Wars is bad, all of that. And then you also see a pattern with these journal sites, cringe sites, with how Disney Star Wars is going with. So it seems like there's a under the table agreement of hey, this is where we're going, let's talk about this. So you always see some, I wouldn't say truth, but you always see where Disney Star Wars is going with when you read these articles as well. So just keep it in front of you, whether you believe it or not, that is up to you. So Star Wars upcoming shows are fixing the prequels, not the sequels. While most Star Wars shows have been focused on fixing the sequel trilogy, the next few upcoming shows will be targeting the prequel era. Now,
most Star Wars shows have been focused on fixing the sequel trilogy. No, they haven't. They've been focused on undermining the OT and altering it, but without remaking the OT. They're remaking everything around it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then this is done by Kevin Erdman, and I didn't really look into his profile, and I'm not really interested in that. So here we go. Here's Mon Mothma here. So we already have a glimpse of where this is going. We did talk about Mon Mothma, her selfless acts of reestablishing, peace, justice, and all that for the galaxy through the Rebel Alliance and stuff, and becoming one of the first leaders of the New Republic as well. And there's more story to that with her and Bell Iblis and stuff, which maybe we'll get into later on, because there was this push and pull between the two. I thought that was very fascinating, because he did not trust her fully. He thought that she was going to be another Palpatine. So we can get into that another time.
I would not be surprised if we see Holdo in it.
I'm not. If we do, I'm not going to be surprised either, because they're making Holdo like how Winter was to Leia.
Yeah.
So if they do show any Leia in this, and they do show any of that, it'll be Holdo, not Winter.
It's going to be Holdo grooming Leia.
That's so bad. All right. Well, most Star Wars story series thus far have either been bridging the original trilogy to the sequels or attempting to fix. Okay, so there's the key words here. People are like, oh, these Filoni-verse or Favreau-verse or whatever you want to call them that they put the title on. But the shows that these guys are creating is retconning the sequels, and they're going to be obsolete now. No, they're not. Well, they're bridging them. They're bridging the trilogies.
Yeah, that's what they said they would do. In actually a couple of interviews, both Favreau and Filoni have said that.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to bridge everything, and they're going to take shit from the EU.
Yeah.
And all that, which they also have done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything they said they did, and they've done, and they were honest about it. So I don't get why this would mean a civil war, because they're basically on the same page as Kennedy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of wishful thinking now. I think, and that ship has sailed. I really, really do. The evidence is in the pudding, they say, right? There's no going back. They are set on the path that they want to go with a franchise, and they're just continuing to sail in that path, in that direction. And, so we're in a state of denial, right? Not we, but people are in a state of denial with, thinking that, Chapek is going to correct everything, or Filoni is going to correct everything, or Favreau is going to be in charge here now. That ship has sailed, because it's not. They are not.
I don't think they even believe it. I think it's just a bunch of people who like
talking points.
No, it's basically LARPing as some kind of a studio executive or something.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, some idiots believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
so
I wanted to be an executive, but it never happened. So now I can pretend to be one. on my YouTube channel.
I don't know. All right. Currently, 2 upcoming series have the potential to improve the first 3 episodes of the Skywalker saga, Andor and the Acolyte. Oh, so they're throwing the Acolyte in this. I did read through this, but I just like skimmed through it. So Andor and the Acolyte are going to basically improve the first 3 episodes of the Skywalker saga. And you know what that is? That's the prequel trilogy. Well, Andor can shed new light on the aftermath of the prequels after the rise of the Empire. The Acolyte can establish how the Sith were able to infiltrate the Republic without alerting the Jedi Order. That was already established. You freaking erased that shit. You decided to cast that story aside. There was no problem. And we really didn't need a problem because we knew that just watching the movies with Palpatine, we knew that he was hiding. You know, he was the reason for. So what do you think about that piece? The Acolyte, he can establish how the Sith were able to infiltrate the Republic without alerting the Jedi Order. What do you think about that, Stig? Oh, I think he muted himself. He's gone. All right. I'm like, Stig, talk to me now. And he's not with me. All right. So let's see what you guys have to say. During the dark times, the wise people are treated as outcasts. Basically, what's happening to us, true Star Wars fan. I agree. So what do you guys think about that little piece right here? Acolyte will establish how the Sith were able to infiltrate the Republic. We already know how they were able to because Palpatine masked himself and tricked them. But what do you guys think about that? Let's see here. Orange Hat says they will make Acolyte the new starter of the Rule of Two. The Rule of Two is not even a thing anymore. They've done away with the Rule of Two in that lore. So we'll see if that would really happen. Because years later, during the OT, we find out that there was no Rule of Two. So in the new lore, because of the Sith, the Exegol, and stuff like that. That's where it was fleshed out. And that's where we find out there was no Rule of Two in the Vader comics, I believe. Set to begin streaming on September 21st, Andor will follow Captain Cassian Andor and those like him who resisted the Empire in the earliest days of the rebellion, taking place before the events of Rogue One Star Wars story. This before? Yeah, it is before, I believe. I was looking at the timeline. The Tony Gilroy directed series will consist of 2 seasons showcasing how the rebellion was born during the Empire's dark reign over the galaxy. Likewise, while the Acolyte is still in development and has yet to get an official release date, the show is expected to take place in the final days of the High Republic era, years before the beginning of the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So let's go down. Well, I hate when it jumps like that. Make sure. Okay. Let's see here. While the series such as The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett have large focuses on improving the sequels, shows like Andor and the Acolyte will do the same thing and enhance what's seen in the prequels. So basically retconning the sequels. They're not correcting, they are retconning the sequels with how they want people to see what happened in the sequel trilogy. So there's no fixing of, there is retconning of. So that's the direction. We have talked about this on the spacing as well, about how they're going to use the stories, how they're going to use this. They may not ever redo George's movies, but with the content they're providing with these shows, they will begin to have people look at these shows in a different way by retconning the events of the show. So that's what's going on here. And this is another reason why I wanted to bring up this article, is that it's not fixing, it's retconning. There's a difference.
Yeah, it's basically rewriting everything around the movies George made.
Right.
So they can alter the story that way.
Yeah, so even if they don't redo any remake George's movies. Just by changing the lore will change how people view those movies, basically retconning the movies without having to reboot them. So there's another tactic right there that people didn't really necessarily think about. They're like, oh, they're going to eventually eat up and remake the movies. Not necessarily. They don't have to remake them now. That by just giving this context and rewriting the lore, they're making people look at these new fans that they want to bring in. They're making them look at the Disney or George Lucas's movies differently. And you do see that on Twitter. You see all these stupid takes on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. And they've, with the Kenobi show and the Book of Boba Fett and all that, and maybe especially Rebels, they've now made it canon that Palpatine, Vader, and Kenobi are idiots. They're complete idiots. And I guess it's so their target audience can feel represented. I think so.
Yeah. And then Soul Assassin says the Plagueis novel said how the Sith infiltrated the Republic and slowly built Sith influences on many worlds. Yeah, but because they erased that lore and stuff, now they're like, oh, we got to go fix it again. Well, you're not necessarily fixing it, because even without the Plagueis novel, you kind of understood that Palpatine basically decided and orchestrated the fall of the Old Republic and the rise of the Sith, basically, and the Empire. Yeah, that was perfectly understood. That was there. You know, you're just getting the story further fleshed out and how A and B happened, how A led up to B, which is fun because we get to have the story of Darth Bane, how the Rule of Two was created, what happened in between, what happened that led up to Palpatine and his master Plagueis. You know, very interesting. You didn't really need to read the EU to understand the movies. That's the whole point we've always been making. That's just an added bonus to that.
It's in the name. Expanded universe. Completely optional.
Yeah. Even Darth Plagueis couldn't sense Palpatine. So that was a very interesting story. If you guys have not read the novel, I highly recommend it. Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett didn't do shit, but proved how stupid Disney with the lore, or how stupid Disney with the lore was with the lore. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, hey Zagharat, how are you doing? Howdy, Laura, Stig, and chat. Yes, hello. All right, so let's see here. Did I read past this one? So basically, while the series such as The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett have large focus on improving the sequels, show like Andor and The Acolyte do the same with the prequels. This can both help fill in any existing narrative gaps, set up major events in the saga's first 3 chapters. Here's how Star Wars coming show can improve the prequel film in the galaxy far, far away.
Well, so they've already destroyed the sequels. The prequels when that Mongoloid Dave Filoni added the chips to the clones.
Yeah,
there was never any chip.
No, there wasn't, and that's even in the Revenge of the Sith novel too.
Well, it's even in the movie,
right?
Because he sends a hologram thing.
Yeah.
Message to the commanders, and the commanders just walk up to the other clones and order them to fire.
Right.
They don't say Order 66 to them. They just point and say fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it was a chip, they could just activate them by a signal.
Yeah.
You don't have to send a holovid.
Right. Exactly. And I agree with you, Marlena. Oh, those chips. Such a stupid invention. As seen in the show such as Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, set approximately 5 years after Return of the Jedi, the remnant of the Empire are revealed, showing the aftermath of the Emperor and Darth Vader's defeat on the second Death Star. The rebellion gained a significant foothold on the Galactic Civil War, replacing the Empire as a new republic. So we're just recap. I forgot what story it was. I seen it on Twitter, but there's a new story out, basically screwing up the lore even more during that time period. Like, I I forgot what novel it was. I'll have to share it on Twitter, you guys. So, but I've been watching it go down, and I was going to do research and post about it, but I just didn't have time to while I was on a small vacay. But basically, there's a novel that came out, Stig, and you might have seen it. I'm not sure. That basically shares, or I think it's the Princess and the Scoundrel, their wedding. I think it's that one.
Is it the one by Sam Maggs?
Yes.
Want to hear something fun? Sam Maggs is the lead narrative writer or something for D&D.
Oh,
so
wow.
if you notice that D&D has gone to shit and gone ultra woke, that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay. So that D&D 5th edition. If you support that one, you're supporting Sam Maggs. She's cheering all the way to the bank.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't care. They just want to make money. But my point is, okay, so it's the Princess and the Scoundrel, and it's that novel now that I remember. Basically, just right after the events of Andor, the Empire just tucked tail and went away, which then kind of goes against Aftermath, because Aftermath
goes against the Mandalorian too.
Yep. So there you go. So it's like they don't keep continuity, and it's
so they've actually retconned the Mandalorian now.
Yeah, I hate that this thing's jumping around. All right. So likewise, these series have helped establish a status quo for the galaxy that wasn't as defined as it arguably should have been in the sequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy is shit. They didn't do anything. They also carry plot points that help clarify elements seen in the sequel. There's no plans with the sequel, the Disney trilogy, as well as the Emperor's cloning efforts on the Sith world Exegol. So we don't have Korriban anymore. It's Exegol. That's their lore. I stay with the true lore. Shows such as Obi-Wan Kenobi and even the Star Wars The Bad Batch animated series, which both take place prior or after New Hope, have also enhanced the events of the original trilogy and the subsequent sequel era. So did those
the
really...
Bad Batch is an enormous plot hole.
So did these enhance A New Hope? Because these happened prior or before. I said after, which I apologize. But do you think that they enhanced the A New Hope, you guys in the chat and Stig?
Nope, I don't think so. They actually can't. If you look at the massive lore breaking and how when it comes to how the Star Wars universe works, they can't even take place in the same story because the differences are too big. I mean, Vader force grabbed the ship and pulled it to him, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't he do that in A New Hope? No, sorry, in Empire Strikes Back with the Falcon when it fled the hangar at Hoth, right? Could have just done it there. We've seen him do it before. Why didn't he do it again?
You have to
and
be
Leia's ship, the Tantive 4 in Rogue One, he was right behind it. It was just outside the door. He could have easily used the same force thing. Yet he didn't.
You have to be very, very careful with what you introduce.
Yeah. When
it even comes to force abilities. Especially if you're doing a show previously to an established story within the lore, the timeline, you have to be very, very careful with what you introduce. Like people
even Kenobi when he threw like thousands of rocks at Anakin.
Yeah, he Ray Palpatined everything.
Yeah, he could have just he could have used that all through the Clone Wars. Could have used it against Grievous, could have used it against everyone.
Yeah, he could have just thrown like bits and pieces on Utapau at all the droids there against Grievous and stuff. He would have been fine.
Yeah, and thrown lava chunks at Anakin.
Right.
At Mustafar.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, you have to be careful. Like Force Unleashed was one people that questioned, but that's basically game. So games are basically you will have exaggerated gameplay because it's just exciting.
Oh, the Force Unleashed was by design but they basically wanted it to go haywire with the force powers in the game for fun.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
what George.
was
I remember George saying that, like, just give them something fun to play.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to exaggerate the games because what happens in the game and how you play is not necessarily what happened in the story.
No, if the rule was that if there was a novelization or something, that was the canon story.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to the Force Unleashed, the novel is canon.
Yeah, and it's so funny now that we're talking about this real quick. How they try to compare Rey to Galen from the games, and it's like, you don't understand gameplay, do you? Because gameplay is exaggerated just for the fun, for the experience of the gamer, right? Everything's exaggerated because how you play is not necessarily how it happened in the lore, in the novel, and so people like to use that as an example to
that's stupid
defend
because
Rey.
Kal Katarn carries 12 weapons or something
Mm-hmm.
in the video games.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be possible, but you can do it in the game because it's just gameplay.
Yeah, it is. You know,
he also has shields around them. You get
Mm-hmm.
a shield thing.
Yeah. And hello, Lady Toriel. Disney has
Hello.
no rule of two. They have the babes of Neverland, never to be Star Wars.
Yep.
And then Fuknora says, Wizards of the Coast makes me sad. And then sequel trilogy is just a sad reboot of the original trilogy. All right, so let's go ahead and get on with this cringe article here. While Andor is also set before A New Hope and Rogue One, it has the potential to look back at the prequel films, particularly Revenge of the Sith, which saw Palpatine's years of planning coming to fruition as his empire rose to replace the Republic, as well as the corruption of his new apprentice, Darth Vader. Serving as a prime example, one of the rebellion's core leaders, Mon Mothma, will be playing a large role in the upcoming series. So they're going to Mary Sue her in a way of where it's not really going to be an Andor show. It's going to be a Mon Mothma show because she's going to be the female star. I think they're going to take
They've already put into, I think it was 1 or 2 novels, where the rebels, right, were talking about how it wasn't really Luke's achievement blowing up the Death Star. It was Jyn Erso.
Right. Yep. That's just one of many, many evidence or accounts that we can go and refer back to with the destruction of just Luke himself.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it continues to happen. It's still continuing today. So if anybody really thinks that they're going to correct him, like Filoni is going to correct him, and they're retconning his character in the Disney trilogy, you're full of shit.
Filoni is there's a video of him ripping into people who didn't like Rey.
Right. It's that interview at the women's conference.
Yeah, but he's going to retcon Rey, but he's pissed that people didn't like her. Really? That doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't add up. All right, so let's continue. As such, the opportunity exists for her to reference a callback to minor arc in Revenge of the Sith that was ultimately cut by George Lucas from the theatrical release, which is in the novel. That's in the novel. So even though he cut it out, it's still in the novel. In Revenge of the Sith, Senator Mon Mothma, and I think I'll clip that to make a little series of EU shorts for that as well. In Revenge of the Sith, Senator Mon Mothma of Chandrila would have...
Right there, that's EU. That's never mentioned in the movie. Where did they get Chandrila from?
Right. Exactly. Would have been featured alongside Senator Palpatine, Senator Padme Amidala, and Bail Organa. As revealed in deleted scenes, the trio would have secretly met with fellow concerned senators to discuss their fears about the Chancellor Palpatine's growing power and gradual dismantling of the Senate before Order 66 had even been executed. So they don't really know about Order 66.
He didn't dismantle the Senate before that, gradually.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
He just showed up and said it's now an empire.
What he did, because this is even stated in the movie and in the novel, that, and this is the discussion when they're when Kenobi was met with Bail, when Bail picked up Kenobi, and then they told Organa, and Yoda's with them, and they told Organa that they're having a senatorial meeting, right, session. And so, you know, Yoda and Obi-Wan's like, this is our prime chance to get into the, you know, into the temple. So in that scene, they basically said, you know, they talked about, this is a great time because the Senate's going to be, they're going to be paying attention to the Senate, that Palpatine needs the support of the Senate. And he's not going to do anything to dismantle them. He's going to need their support to rise.
Exactly.
And
so he didn't dismantle anything. That didn't even happen. That happened close to episode 4.
Yeah. Like the dismantle happened in episode 4. So there was, I don't think that.
Now that was the final thing, though. He's probably been working on it for a while.
Yeah, but he does need, because he did plant his own people in each sector, you know, system there. But he allowed, you know, the senators and the royalty, like Bail Organa and them like that, to still oversee and rule their systems and stuff like that. But there was a gradual dismantling of power, if you want to say, but the Senate was still kept intact because he needed them. So I think that's where they're getting confused. Maybe, I don't know, but I think this person probably doesn't understand. Well, you guys are just jumping in the chat here. Let's see here. Iris says, I like my stories all tied up, and this day no one cares about the stories making sense. Make big scenes and the audience will forget the last scene. Oh yeah, those hallway scenes are very popular right now. I want my entertainment to make sense. Correct. So do we. I don't care about how powerful Vader is going to look in a scene.
I think they keep forgetting that a movie and a TV show is storytelling. And they forget the story bit of it. They just do events. You know? Yeah.
And they add, you know, sprinkle of member berries and stuff in there, you know, just to get everybody excited, you know, when they start getting numb. People are numb to storytelling right now because they just want quick events. And I think it leads into like the society today, like wanting a quick response from texting and calling and having electronics and looking things up. People don't know how to sit back and read and just get into the story. They just want something that's going to be quick, and then they're on to the next one, not thinking about the underlying meaning, the underlying story of that. They just want identity politics. They want a quick story.
Well, it kind of happened with the later seasons of Game of Thrones as well. It just jumped from wow moment to wow moment, and you had characters traveling, you know, taking journeys that would have taken maybe a month, and they did it in like 2 days. It's just back and forth, and then someone gets killed, and people, wow. Yeah, but that death didn't make sense, did it? You know?
Yeah. And then Abunas is here. Thank you so much. And he is a channel member as well. Hey, everyone. Hope you all is doing good. I'm listening in as I'm eating my lunch. Good to see the dynamic duel back in action. Yes, I thought maybe I'd bring him in and see if he wants to hang out and discuss Mon Mothma and this cringe article here, which is, you know, a bit about Mon Mothma as well. So let's go ahead and move on here. The cut sequence even saw Organa and Mothma agreeing to form an organization to preserve democracy within the Republic, an alliance that would eventually become the rebellion in response to the rise of the Empire and the demise of the Jedi Order.
Interesting that now all of a sudden deleted scenes are important and pretty much canon to them. When But,
that's because they threw away the lore.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, well, we got to fix something that we basically fucked up by throwing away the world building behind it.
They actually did a statement a few years ago, because at the beginning they said the only thing that was canon was the 6 movies Lucas made. and the novelizations. But they made a statement saying that the novelizations were no longer canon either.
Right.
So,
But
and that was
oddly,
official.
yeah. But oddly, when you go to pick up any of the like PT novels, there's no legend label on them. Like you can get the trilogy of like the Dark Lord trilogy of Labyrinth of Evil, Revenge of the Sith, and Dark Lord Rise of Darth Vader. The two stories, Labyrinth and Dark Lord Rise of Darth Vader, have legends label on them, but Revenge of the Sith does not. So, so I don't know what to believe with them and believe, from them anymore.
That's probably they haven't done it, but they did say that the novelizations are no longer canon.
Oh, I know, and that's the debate, because that's what my point is that this print of that trilogy is Disney print.
Yeah.
That's why there's label for those two novels, but Revenge of the Sith doesn't have the legends label. So kind of.
So they don't even have continuity with that. With
I know. That's why I'm questioning. Like they say it isn't, but then they're not putting the legends label on it. So what is it? So they can't even keep track of what they're talking about. So that's something that's debatable.
They don't have to, because their fan base can't keep track of anything either.
And true. And another thing is like, okay, so maybe there's reason why there's no label on them is because they're quasi-canon, I guess you can say, because some events didn't happen, but some events did. Because of the movies. So, that's, like I said, it could be debated. It's weird that it's sad that they put themselves in this predicament, all for the choice of creative freedom to make their own lore and build upon their own lore, so they are not tied down by the constructs of the EU.
It's kind of, it's weird though. They wanted creative freedom, but they didn't hire creative people.
Right. And they keep pulling in from the EU and remaking it. That's not creative at all. That's not the most creative things I've seen happen. Yeah. Most creative things I've seen happen was before Disney in Star Wars, with everybody collaborating and the Bible of the EU being used to help create a somewhat seamless continuity and stuff like that. Now it's just like, oh, let's see. We don't know where we want to go with this, so let's see what happened in the EU, and we'll bastardize it, basically. But yeah. So let's get on with this cringe article. Let's just see what they have to say. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to cringe on this. While not much is known about the Acolyte, it's been reported that the series will be set in the final days of the High Republic, an era that began hundreds of years before Skywalker saga, depicted in several novels and comics as a Renaissance period of peace and prosperity. The Jedi Order was also at the height of its power as the Republic began expanding. That's like just 200 years. It was at the height of its power, expanding into the Outer Rim territories. How can that happen when there's no hyperspace in that area? Anyways, however, the Guardians of Peace, of Justice in the galaxy would gradually decline, eventually becoming the version of the Jedi Order seen in the Phantom Menace that was ultimately wiped out at the end of the prequel trilogy, thanks to the machinations of Palpatine and in the Revenge of the Sith, starring Amanda Steinberg in the lead role, presumably the titular acolyte herself. Showrunner Leslie Hanlon revealed in a recent interview how the Jedi were deceived so easily, as well as how they became so prideful to the point where the Jedi were unable to detect the return of the Sith and their infiltration into the Republic itself.
Here's the thing: they weren't deceived easily.
No, they weren't.
No, there was a lot of effort going into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing that they failed on, like the biggest thing that they failed on was, and this was basically a reflection of Yoda in Revenge of the Sith. What they failed, what ultimately was their downfall, was not allowing the Jedi to evolve. He recognized the Sith sat back, and was atoning. But during the atonement of that 1,000 years that happened, where they thought that they no longer exist, which they did, they were just sitting back atoning. They were also researching the Jedi. they were also studying the Jedi, basically, to figure out how to defeat them, right? So there was no like, oh, the Jedi just were caught off guard and were so easily defeated because of pride. No, the Sith sat back and studied them, planned accordingly, found the weaknesses maybe, and utilized them. So in Revenge of the Sith novel, Yoda sat back and said, our ultimate defeat was not allowing the Jedi Order to evolve. And he even seen that as his mistake, because he was training Jedi to defeat a Sith that he knew about 1,000 years ago. See the depth of that from the original lore, from the true lore, versus, oh, the Jedi were just prideful, and so they were easily wiped out. See the difference in that?
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much depth in that.
Yeah, and I bet you the ones who weren't prideful were all female characters. That's going to happen.
Yeah. Like they're going to say, see, we told you this was going to happen. Making Yoda look stupid. Watch. I bet you. They already made him look like, from what I've researched a little bit with the High Republic, Yoda, he's being set up big time to be a failure. That's all I got to say about that. Let's see here. Where did I leave off at? While they eventually discovered Palpatine's treachery as Darth Sidious, it was far too late, and the Jedi order was obliterated. I can't even talk. With Order 66, making the end of the Clone Wars and the rise of the Empire to oppress the galaxy under the Sith rule. So they made it too damn easy for the Sith, which basically dumbs down the Sith, because once your enemy is dumb, so are the heroes, right? Because the heroes are only as strong as the enemy. So they dumb down the Jedi, which means they're dumbing down the Sith, because
that's not new.
I know.
Because if you look at the Clone Wars show and Rebels, every time the heroes encounter a villain, that villain's IQ drops to about 25. And so does their skill. I mean, Ahsoka was a teenager when she defeated Ventress several times. Or rather survived. She shouldn't have. Ventress was a beast. She survived against Grievous. And she was unarmed and defeated an armed Darth Maul, who was a Sith Lord. Yeah. So this isn't anything new at all. This is Filoni started it a long time ago. Even Thrawn, the guy basically turned Thrawn into Gargamel on Rebels. I mean, Thrawn is supposed to be intelligent and calculating. The only thing they do on that show is have him sound intelligent when he talks, but then his actions are dumb as shit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, the rebels escaped from this by using this very obvious escape route. Again, this is the 5th time. What am I to do?
Right. And the thing is, okay, so if the Jedi became prideful, wouldn't that be kind of like teetering into the dark side themselves? Because isn't that one thing, like if you start becoming prideful and you start becoming, like all about yourself and stuff, and greedy, prideful and stuff like that, that's like the path to the dark side. So this person, Headland, does not understand Star Wars if she's saying the Jedi became prideful.
She doesn't have to understand it, because the target audience doesn't understand it either.
Yeah.
They'll just swallow whatever they say.
Right. And then got to head out and start the grill. Have fun, guys. And thank you for hanging out with us. And you have a great day and a good barbecue. Enjoy your barbecue. Kitty Bear, hello. It was Ahsoka against a Sith Lord, or a shit Lord, not a Sith Lord.
Yeah. Even, Maul even failed at killing, what's his name, Kanan. He slashed Kanan in the face. For some reason, he didn't cut his head in half. He stopped at the eyes. Yeah. And Kanan was blinded and didn't know what to do. Yet he still defeated Maul.
Yeah.
That's how pathetic Maul is now.
Where Maul could have just got in the killing blow because of that. Because seriously, once you get like
that
for example,
blow
Luke,
should have been the killing blow.
right? And like Luke with his hand getting cut off by Vader. That's like you could compare that to that. Luke, even though his training probably is like training levels between the two were slightly. You know, Kanan didn't he quit as a Padawan? Or was
he was Depa Biloba's Padawan. Even though Depa Biloba was a vegetable at the time in canon.
Yeah.
Which is why she's not on the Jedi Council in episode 3, by the way.
Correct.
Because George Lucas stuck to that.
Yeah. So with Kanan's training level, he should have died. Obviously, he should have died. Because he should have got brain damage, right? Because you're cutting through the top of the brain.
Well, he didn't. He just stopped at the edge of the nose and kind of just blinded his eyes. That's all he did. Darth Maul should have just followed that strike all the way through and sliced his head in half.
Yeah, he should.
He was a trained Jedi killer. But all of us, can't kill off the main characters.
Yeah, that is just ridiculous. Like, even so, like you're going into the temple. The brain is right behind, not the temple, but the sinus area and the nose area. So the brain is right back there. You have your spine right back there.
Didn't even leave a scar. It just left a trace of soot. That's what he has for the rest of the show. And here's the other thing. You know the Leia Poppins scene? Leia flying through space? Kanan did it first.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Because people defend that.
So it's bad when Rian Johnson does it, but when Filoni did it first, it was okay.
Right. Yeah.
And Kanan was flying blindly too.
Oh Lord, what a mess. Okay, let's finish this cringe article here. Some Star Wars series, such as Mandalorian, will continue with new seasons set before the sequel, along with new shows in the same era, such as Ahsoka and Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Now, do you remember people saying that the events after Return of the Jedi were so condensed, like you had all kinds of stories that seemed like they overlapped, and how it was crowded and they needed to get rid of it?
Yeah.
Well, what's going on now with this time frame?
To be fair, the timeline after Return of the Jedi is crowded in the EU. It is.
But it's all one story after another. So basically you have a timeline. But we're like seeing like Ahsoka and all this like here, like following suit to this argument that they said, oh, well, the EU was bad because it was too crowded during that time. But now it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny that these arguments that these anti-EU people bring to the table are now being shoved back in their face with the very lore that they're trying to defend.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it very funny. Like Palpatine's return as a clone. That was such an awful story. That's blah, blah, blah. Now look at that. They can't complain. They can't complain about anything. As such, the Star Wars franchise may yet do more to establish the links between the events of the original trilogy and the sequels on the small screen. However, the unique potential for Andor and the Acolyte to enhance the prequels is very exciting. Oh, okay. So now they were going to
hang on. Unique. Mm-hmm. We had novels, comics, and video games, and all kinds of stuff that's already done that, which means it's not unique, is it?
No, it's already been done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already been done and done perfectly well. Especially when you get into the Republic era, the comics and stuff.
Yeah, that was over 70 comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Star Wars franchise and galaxy are certainly big enough to handle both types of series, catering to any and all types of fans who love the galaxy far, far away. So basically, pick your own.
They're the ones they're catering to aren't fans.
Right. I know. Yeah. But what I'm getting at here is like, catering are, both types of series. So basically what we're looking at with Star Wars is, I'm not saying it's a multiverse, but their continuity is so screwed up that you can kind of say it's a multiverse. It's like you could just pick your adventure and go from there and just not worry about another. Mind you, in the EU, when we talk to people about the EU and where to start, it's like, which era do you like? You like the Old Republic? You like the dark times, or the Empire, the rise of the Empire? Do you like the classical era, which is the OT? Do you like legacy era? Do you like, new Jedi Order era? Whatever you want to start at, we can probably give you a book to begin there. But usually from that point, no matter where the new reader starts from, or someone that's returning back, they will eventually start reading it all. With this, I don't think that's going to happen, because the continuity is so screwed up. It's going to be hard to track what leads to what anymore. Now with the original EU, you can track that. You can say, you can read something from the New Jedi Order and then like, oh my God, this was said over here in this timeline during the prequel era.
Yeah, the New Jedi Order stuff is even foreshadowed, or rather, it ties into the KOTOR game a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem Disney has now, though, is, let's say they make a Han Solo show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really well written and it's great. The problem is, since it's all linked, that story probably won't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because it's tied to all kinds of other stuff that's completely retarded. Yeah. And a story is the sum of all its parts. And if you're trying to build something solid and you've already blown up the foundation, it's going to topple.
Yeah. Yeah. And Soul Assassin has this right here. I still laugh at Collider. They mock the EU and Chewie and clone Palps and cheer for Han's death and clone Palp. Now they're gone. Like I said, so that goes back to what I was saying too. It's like you can't use those as your evidence as well anymore, because it's now in the lore that you decide to defend. And Marlena says, notice how Filoni's characters are always attached to a George Lucas character. Yeah. And that goes to Ahsoka. She should have been dead. That would have added more depth into Anakin's fall.
Yeah, and you have the ones in the Mandalorians too are tied to Boba Fett.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Kitty Bear says, in the next season of Mandalorian, he will be running so fast, he will travel back to the past, leaving Grogu back in the past, and in turns out at later age, Grogu takes another name and will be Yoda. Oh my God.
I would not be surprised.
Right. Let's see where I left Fawn here. Yeah, so that's the end of that. So basically they're saying, oh, it's going to fix or it's going to enhance. No, they're retconning. That's what this is all about. And so these articles, these shit articles basically do have some truth to them. And I'm not defending them because they are trash at, point. Like these opinions are like way out there. But the truth is that they're exposing the truth of Disney Lucasfilm, and where they want to take the lore. And they're not basically fixing anything. They are retconning. So like there may never be remakes of George's movies. There may be, we don't know, right? However, they're already remaking them by changing and retconning what leads up to them, so that these fans that they're catering to will see the movies in a whole different view, straying away from George Lucas's intention. So there's that pattern I want you guys to look at and be aware of, and point out that they are not necessarily, they may never remake the movies. We may not be alive when they do that. However, they are retconning the lore and how people look at that. So where do you want to be? Where do you want to stay at with Star Wars? I'd rather stay in George Lucas's era. Even though we may never get any more continued stories. Man, I was happy for, the comic 108. Thank you so much for that. That was fun. I'm grateful.
It was also Marvel 108 was the second highest Star Wars product in print in terms of sales that year. It was the second highest selling Star Wars story in print. The only thing that sold more was one of the new Thrawn books.
Yeah. And I want to thank you to the printing of Heart of the Jedi. even though that story was if you want to look into like George Lucas and what he wanted, not wanted for his lore, whatever we didn't see that was printed novel wise, for whatever reason, meant that George didn't like where the story was going. So this goes against people who said George was never involved with the EU and that the EU was basically what the writers wanted and not George. That is false. So the Heart of the Jedi basically didn't make it to print as an official canon story for whatever reason that the company and George felt. It never made it through.
That book broke lore big time.
Yeah. So there's a reason to it, but the reprint of it proved that us EU elitists, us hardcore fans, are willing to get more stories if done right. And I don't trust Disney, even with some of the authors that wrote for George at the time. I don't really trust them.
Well, they've sold out.
Yeah, they're willing to rewrite the characters. They're willing to follow their narrative of diversity that's going on today, which, mind you, I like diversity, right? I mean, but I just don't want it to be used as a tool for the, in the sake of, going against a good story.
Yeah, story first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, we have evidence there that us EU elitists are as hardcore fans, as the old guard, as people would say. There's evidence that we would want a good story, another story. We would want a continuation, but we also do not trust. There's this trust factor that's going on. And, my conversation with Michael Stackpole, he doesn't care if Corran Horn is put in. He is like willing to rewrite Corran Horn's story because he wants money. He wants another job. And part of me feels sad for him about that. He's that's his bread and butter, right? So he's willing to compromise a story in the excitement of reinventing a Corran Horn to try to fit in the new lore. For me, I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want him reinvented. I didn't want Thrawn reinvented. I just want a continuation of the story, of the characters as they were written before. And that's a difference right there. That's a huge difference right there. So, people, guys, whether you sit with me on that fence and want, an honest story and an honest continuation of the EU, thank you for sitting with me. But if you don't care and you're willing to risk, the sanctity of the story to get a new story and hope and trust in these authors that they won't go down the same path as what we're seeing with these franchises today. I mean, well, good for you, but I don't trust. And like I said, I'd rather just stay where I'm at. If I'm not getting any stories, then that's fine.
Yeah, like I said, when it comes to Disney Star Wars, I try not to compare it to the EU too much, and unless they're ripping it off, But it's so I usually go after the how they don't fit with the movies, because they that was what they said when they scrapped the EU. We're gonna, the movies are canon. And everything we do is going to fit with the movies, but it doesn't. Yeah. So I always compare it with how things works in the movie, to how things works in their shit shows and whatever. Yeah. And it's like I said, I would be happy if they just did the 2 Darth Zana books and the Jaina Solo trilogy. If we got that, I would be happy, But at this point, with what they're doing with Disney Star Wars, which isn't even Star Wars at this point, I just make it as dumb as possible, make it burn faster, right?
You're kind of cheering on the stupidity of the direction it's going.
I mean, come on, make a Luke Skywalker show. The guy isn't retarded enough yet. Come on, you can add to it.
That's funnier than heck. But yeah, so that's my thing on this. So you guys continue to watch the direction of where they take Mon Mothma, and I will provide character lore clips of her, so that you will continue to see how she was intended to be, the true Mon Mothma and stuff like that, so we can continue to keep that in front of us and stuff, because they're gonna retcon her, they're gonna change her. She's gonna be some kind of rebel Karen, I guess you could say. That's what I'm guessing. So I'm kind of like, I'm past the point of being sad about everything now. Some of it's quite comical, but there's a little frustration still, because the fact that they're retconning these legacy characters, and these people are going to start seeing these characters in a whole different way. That's not true. And it's like dishonest to the established lore, the true canon, the only canon. It's kind of frustrating still in a way. But I do laugh at it as well. And, me and Jedi Luke, basically we DM each other, and we're cracking up. Did you see what they're doing now? Because you have to laugh at it now. You can't just sit in there and grievance and stuff.
I think it's even more laughable that you have people who claim to be fans of the old Lucas era are cheering it on, and I'm like, this is wow.
Yeah, right. I know. It's like, did you have enough? When are you going to stop believing that they're going to course correct? How many shows, novels, games is it going to take you?
Yeah.
To decide that they're never going to course correct? And thank you, Abanos.
Believing the same lie 60 times. The problem isn't Disney at this point. It's you.
Right. And then the Sentinel says Star Wars, how to get much worse in order for it to have no value to Disney, in order for Disney to sell it. I don't even know if they will ever. I think they're just going to continue, and they don't care. It's just another money source for them, really.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Let's say Kathleen Kennedy gets fired tomorrow. Big public thing. She's kicked out. That's not going to fix anything, because the damage is already done. Disney's not going to get rid of 10 years of bad Star Wars content. That's not going to happen.
No, it's not. Yeah, so we're going to come into conclusion of the show here. So stay tuned. I have a new video out, and it just goes over the concept book that I bought. And I announced in there that I am going to do a Star Wars art series coming up, with reviewing the cover of the novels, and even the concept art of the movies and games and stuff. I haven't seen hardly any YouTube channels that touch basis on the art of Star Wars. And so basically I'm going to call it the Art of Star Wars. That's going to be the series. And so I look forward to that. I don't know when I'm going to begin that.
Would you call it Lucas Arts?
Lucas Arts. People will confuse that with the game, the game department. But that's a good catch. So I'll be doing that in the near future. I need to get the Ralph McCreary book of just his concept art. There's one of them out there that's that. And I did see the ones where legacy Lord of the Rings that I want to get, just to add, because I love all arts and stuff, and lore art and the richness that it brings. So I don't know if I will do a review on that, but just to add to my collection, my art collection of novels and stuff I have for art, because I nerd out on art too. So that series is coming up tonight. Catch me on Babed and Menace at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time on Mary Mayhan's channel. Very excited to be back with the gals. Last week I couldn't make it because I had a little bit of tragedy going on in the family. And then next week will be Holocron Journal. So we're going back in time of events and development in Star Wars in the month of August. So stay tuned for that. And then, of course, Coffee Chat, and at 9 a.m. every Thursday, and lore videos and EU shorts. I've been getting a lot of requests to return to Revenge of the Sith novels for various scenes to use for these EU shorts, which basically I will be doing here pretty soon. And Stig, do you have any plans coming up for yourself when it comes to YouTube and such?
No. Cringe Factory on Wednesday with Mara. Assuming I'm awake, because it starts at 2 a.m. my time, right? Usually, though, on Saturdays we do the book streams on Teresa's channel.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks,
Okay.
and we've already gone through the 3 Lord of the Rings books, The Hobbit, and the Silmarillion, chapter by chapter. So now we're doing other authors that sprang from Tolkien, kind of. So we're doing the Sword of Shannara, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's good. Discussing what you love and stuff. So yeah, so my channel, like for Coffee Chat Stig, if you haven't noticed, kind of like the format changed a little tiny bit because we're not reviewing, not reviewing comics or whatever, but basically is talking about the lore. Usually I've been doing going through the Force societies, but I felt that today we needed to talk about Mon Mothma since Andor's coming out, and so they're going to give us a totally rebooted version of Mon Mothma. So I want to keep the true version in front of people. That's part of the reason why I have this channel, keeping the true lore in front of you guys. And then I also put in cringe factor to go over these articles that kind of share some truth with the direction that the company is going with Star Wars and stuff, and what people use to defend that direction, and making people think and notice and make their decisions. So that cringe factor, that's what that's all about. Stig and I were talking about continuing the stories, Quinlan Voss's stories that here soon from the comics. So stay tuned for that. I think we'll revisit that since the prints are coming out for that here pretty soon, or have. So stay tuned for that. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but thank you again for Stig for coming on and co-hosting today. It's been a while. I've been enjoying having time to myself talking with the chat and stuff, but it's always fun to have a co-host on too. So thank you so much, Stig. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and play a commercial and we're going to wrap this up. So thank you guys in the chat so much for coming in. We had like almost 25 of us in here. So thank you so much for coming in and giving opinion and thoughts about what's going on today and talking about Mon Mothma and stuff. Hopefully that, raised your curiosity for her and that you explore her lore even more. So thank you again.
Prepare yourself for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. The evil Empire has struck back with a vengeance, and a new villain, the crime lord Shizor, schemes to replace Darth Vader as the Emperor's second-in-command. With Han Solo held frozen in carbonite by bounty hunter Boba Fett, it's the rebellion's darkest hour. Now, join Jedi warrior Luke Skywalker, hard-charging Chewbacca, and go undercover with heroic pilot Dash Rendar and his booming Outrider. But can Han Solo be freed and Shizor be stopped? Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. Look for the authentic figures and vehicles from Kenner.
Another happy landing.